Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a graph on the information that we have already put in table form. And this graph is going to be suitable to the type of data that we have. Now, as you'll see in class, we have line graphs, bar charts, histograms, pie charts, and so on. But we'll pick one that will be suitable to this kind of data. And the one that will be suitable to this kind of data here, where you have separate categories and quantitative amounts here, will be a bar chart. Okay, so you have rent, food, car bills. These aren't associated, so they won't be merged together in a graph. And then we have September 15, September 16. Now, in order to do this, what we do is we highlight the information that we want to include in the graph, and we go into Insert, and you can see there that under Insert comes up all different kinds of charts and graphs and so on, and we will be picking this one here, and we'll pick a 2D column graph. Now, when you pick the 2D column, a number of different options come up here, and of course you can change it to whatever kind of style you want. We like that one, whatever you want, and we just go with the standard one, whatever comes up. Okay, so we can see here our separate categories: rent, food, car bills. Series 1 refers to 2015 and Series 2 refers to 2016. However, we're going to change this as to reflect Series 1, Series 2 in a moment. Now, what we have on this graph, our very basic graph that comes up when we put the data into Excel, is we have the X and Y axis and the information on the graph, but we don't know any more than that. We don't know what year that is. We're not 100% sure. There's no title. There's no indication as to what this column, what's this column. Well, I mean, there is an indication there, but we don't have it named. We're going to name it. We're going to do all that. How we do that then is we have our basic chart, and we go into Chart Layout, and we can decide which kind of chart we want. If you click on it, it will change the style of the chart will change based on whatever style of chart you pick from this chart layout, from these chart layouts here. So you might want something like this. You might want something with the amounts down here. It depends on how busy or how much or how little information you have in your chart. The one I always go for myself is this one here, where you have the chart title, you have the x-axis and you have the y-axis. You have the series at the side as well, Series 1 and 2, which you can rename, of course, to 2015. It's the one I always pick, but of course, if there's something else you prefer, it's all about style. It's a question of style, what style you want to go for, what you want to display in your chart. So I go for this one here. So then it incorporates chart title, y-axis there and x-axis there, car, rent or food or car bills, so on. So in order to change the chart title, you just click on it and then double click, and you can change it to something like Outgoings, September 15 or September 2005 and September 2006, very long as you can see. So what we could do is Outgoings 2015, 2016, something like that. That would be fine. Keep it nice and short. You can change the size of the font as well if you want. You're clicking on it, and if you right excuse me, when you right click on it, the options for changing various elements come up, so you can change the font, you can change the size of it. We'll keep it at the default size for the moment. You can change the color, it's up to yourself. Now, in our x-axis then, we might go with categories perhaps, and our y-axis we might go with perhaps euro amount. You could go with monthly expenditure. You could go with whatever you want, just to make sure that you have noted what the X and Y columns are and the title. Now, to change the Series 1, Series 2, you are going to click on, you're going to right click, and you're going to go to Format Data. You're going to right click and you're going to go to Select Data. You will see here you have Series 1 and 2. If you click on Series 1, you can go to Edit and you can change it there. Now, Series 1 was September 2015. You go OK. And Series 2, just click on that, Edit, and that was September 2016. And OK, and you just press OK there. So you have September 15 in blue and September 16 in red. That might be, you might be very happy with that. That might be all you want to include in your chart. However, what you can also include is you can play around with the functions that you have. So if you click on one of the red columns, then all the red columns are selected unless you can double click again, then just one is selected. So again, just one. So click on the blue, all of the blue are selected unless you click on one again. Now single click on one and then just one blue is selected. So we select all the red, we right click and we can go to add data label. And so then the amount comes up that you want to highlight. So add data label. We'll go with the blues as well. Add data label. So I did them one by one for the red and I did them all together for the blue. So to delete, we click on them and delete. So all my blue columns are selected there. So all September 15, right click, add data labels, and they all come up. Again, just clicking on one red column, add data label, and just one will come up. I'll delete it and click select on the red column, 2016, they're all selected. Add data labels, they'll all come up. You can see that they're a little bit big, they're a little bit cumbersome, a bit messy. You can always move them around. If you click on them, you can move them down to somewhere maybe where they're a little bit more readable. You can also change the size on them. So again, just like I was saying to earlier on, you click on them, right click, and the text size comes up, and you can change that to something a little bit smaller if that suits. Again, see now, there we go. Font size 8. So they're all quite small. You can move them if you like. Some people use them, some people don't. I think they're a little bit messy looking sometimes, especially if you've got quite a lot of information. If maybe sometimes what people have is the highest and lowest across a certain year. So we'll just put in 550. The highest expenditure 2015, the lowest expenditure we might say 150, so either way it's up to yourself to display what you want to display on it. There are a number of different options you can pick in terms of what kind of grid lines you want. You can change the color of your graph, of your charts. You can change the look of them, 3D, black and white, whatever you want to highlight on your graph. You've got a number of different options there. Okay, so just go with the standard there, the red and the blue, September 15 and September 16. Now, so that's coming up in your chart, in your Excel file there. You can move it over so that it's not covering any information, and there it is, there it'll stay. Or alternatively, you can move it to a chart in the tab bar along here. So if you select on it, you can go, just come out of it and do that again. So click on it and then right click and you go to move chart, and you can call it new chart, new sheet, chart 1. We can call it outgoings 2015, 2016 if we like. We press OK, and there it is here, quite large, and you can see it straightforwardly there. Now also when you do this, you may need to at this point change the size of some of these fonts, because when they're moved into the larger graph, they kind of become very small. So you can change the font size, change them around there like that. That doesn't mean that your information is lost here. It's still there. Now, also, or in addition, any information that you change here will be picked up in your graph here. So if you were going over your accounts again and you see actually I only spent 250 on rent there in that point, and you see that your rent has come down at that point there. So maybe you only spent 10 on bills, for example, and you can see there it has reflected, the changes have been reflected in the chart. Okay, so it's picked up from that chart there at that point. So that's how you do the graph for that particular piece of information. We'll be going through graphs on other pieces of information as we go on through Microsoft Excel, maybe line graphs, scatter diagrams, histograms as well, quite common. Pie charts, don't use them so much, not as common. What we could do is we could change these to percentage values out of 1139, and then create a histogram, or sorry, a pie chart. So the pie chart reflecting a percentage out of 100 naturally. So if we had all these in percent, if we had the percent of money, the percent of your income spent on rent, percent on food, percent on car, and percent on bills, then we could create the pie chart. But here we're going to go with the bar chart. Now the bar chart, as which would differ from other kinds of charts that we look at, like charts that have columns together like this. The bar chart doesn't have this because each of these columns are a separate thing. They are standalone, they are unique functions or unique elements in food expenditure, say. So each of them are separate. If you had, say, rent data going from 0 to 100, 100 to 150, 150 to 200, for example, you would see these columns being side by side, and that would be called a histogram. But here, when they're separate like that, when they're kind of nominal in value, then you have separate columns with a space in between each category. So rent, food, car, bills, so on. Okay, so go back to our chart there, and we leave that recording as is. That is graphing that particular kind of data.